the Honorable Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Ministers, Cabinet Ministers, Leader of the Opposition and fellow members of Parliament, and all those joining us live through the live stream across the globe and from the comforts of their home. Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity to present my ministerial statement on the recent TSLS delegation visitation, which I led to Sydney and Canberra, Australia, and the outcomes achieved. Mr. Speaker, sir, it would be remiss of me not to mention that this is the first time that government, in this case, the coalition government, has set budgetary allocation to visit sponsored students studying under the TSLS overseas scholarships in Australia and New Zealand. And similar visit is done by other governments across the globe who sponsor students at universities overseas. Mr. Speaker, sir, the purpose of the visit is to check on students' well-being and welfare and have direct audience with university executives and students in order to work out solutions raised by students or the respective universities. And the visit coincided with strengthening and expanding partnerships with universities. Mr. Speaker, sir, TSLS was established in 2014 and overseas scholarship started in 2019 under the organization. There was no visit to the students until 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, this year I was fortunate to be part of the TSLS delegation, which included the TSLS board chair, Ro Temu Mukiapa, the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Hasmukh Lal, and staff from the TSLS and the Ministry of Education. Universities visited include the University of New South Wales, Western Sydney University, the University of Newcastle, and the University of Canberra. Mr. Speaker, sir, in addition to the intentions of the travel, the coalition government introduced a new scheme on the current financial year to have more citizens to access PhD scholarships to boost Fiji's human capital. This is the newly introduced scheme called Cost-Sharing Overseas PhD Scholarship. Under this agreement, the universities will cover tuition fee, while TSLS will pay stipend, airfare, and any other cost associated with the study. As such, the taxpayers of Fiji will save around $300,000 tuition fee for a 4-year PhD program and will have graduates of top quality. Mr. Speaker, sir, on the 3rd of July 2024, the University of Newcastle was the first university to come on board the cost-sharing overseas PhD initiative. During the visit, I witnessed the signing of the cost-sharing overseas PhD MOU between TSLS and the University of New South Wales and Western Sydney University. And I thank these two universities for development perspective towards Fiji. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also gained the opportunity to visit the world-class Brumbies sport facility at the University of Canberra, where TSLS will send prospective students to pursue qualification in sports science and sports medicine. This is a model where university has a partnership facility for learning, teaching, research, and sports excellence with ACT Brumbies. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the visit of the 4 universities, the delegation emphasized the universities the intentions of the scholarship investment designed in developing human capital, particularly on the introduction of a new overseas scheme called Scholarships for Merit-Based Postgraduate Diploma Specialization, in-service overseas training, and the increased quota in the Scholarship for Merit-Based Undergraduate Overseas Scheme from 40 awards to 80 awards. The universities were also requested to ensure pastoral care is provided to assist students in adjusting to the fast-paced environment of learning they are in, whereby peer mentoring services to students is emphasized to assist students in coping with their academic requirements. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the meeting with the students, they were notified of the TSLS policy changes, such as increase in bond services from 1.5 times to 2.5 times, increase in termination penalty up to 50% for students who default their bond services, with special emphasis was on scholarship academic obligation, since the probation period has decreased from 3 probation to 2 probations. Mr. Speaker, sir, after visiting the sponsored students at the 4 universities, I was overwhelmed with the response that was received from the students. The sponsored students commended the coalition government for providing them with the opportunity to undertake programs at an overseas university. The students also commended the support services provided by the universities and TSLS in achieving their educational goals overseas and assisting them in adapting to the new environment overseas. And the sponsored students showed commitment towards completing their programs and returning to serve the country. I assure the students that the coalition government will continue to assist and invest in the youths, as they are the future of the country. And as such, it is the responsibility of the sponsored students to serve their scholarship bond. Mr. Speaker, sir, the students highly acknowledged the visit as it was motivational, and they saw government seriousness and commitment to the studies. It cost governments around 300,000 to fund one undergraduate student in the overseas scholarship scheme, when compared to 30,000 to 40,000 at a local university. To have commensurate return of service to the country against the investment, the bonding of overseas scholarship is now 2.5 times the duration of the study. Mr. Speaker, sir, upon meeting with the sponsored students at the universities, I was alerted on the need to review the education curriculum to allow students a smooth transition from secondary school to universities, specifically in the areas and subjects of mathematics, physics, and computer science. It was highlighted in the visit that there is a vast difference between what is learned in year 13 in Fiji and what is taught in the universities and overseas. The sponsored students were assured that the curriculum innovation and transformation from ECE to senior secondary is one of the priority areas of the ministry, and as such, the ministry is working towards the reviewing of the school curriculum. Mr. Speaker, sir, under the Overseas Scholarship Scheme, TSLS funds for programs which are part of the national priority areas, but not offered by the local universities. A total of 60 students were currently enrolled in areas such as cybersecurity, software engineering, veterinary science, data science, actuarial science, forensic science, architectural engineering, chemical engineering, biomedical engineering, environmental engineering, mechatronics engineering, speech pathology, and renewable energy at the New Zealand and Australia-based universities. With increase in scholarship quota at the undergraduate level and the introduction of new scholarship schemes, more Fijians will be pursuing quality education in Australia and New Zealand. Mr. Speaker, sir, Fiji is faced with competing priorities and challenges, and for government to alone invest in skilling people to mitigate gaps in our workforce is a challenge with other competing national priorities. And therefore, during the visit, I had the opportunity to lead a delegation to the bilateral meeting with DFAT, where the delegation was joined by His Excellency Ajay by Amrit, Fiji's High Commissioner to Australia, who coordinated the meeting. Mr. Speaker, sir, Fiji has lost approximately around 2.5% of its population through permanent and circular migration. It is evident that Australia is the one highly preferred destination country. It is noted that the Australian award schemes are also given to our citizens, which we highly acknowledge, but there is no monitoring in place, Mr. Speaker, sir, on how long the graduates effectively serve in Fiji after graduation. As such, our bilateral meeting with DFAT in Canberra discussed ways the students on the Australian awards can be bonded by the Fiji government through TSLS. This will ensure that Fiji does not lose Australian Scholarship Award graduates, and they serve at least minimum of 5 years in Fiji and be cleared from the bond services by TSLS. Mr. Speaker, sir, amongst other discussions with DFET, the delegations acknowledged the Australian government in its budget support to the Fiji government and made recommendations that the Australian government considers providing targeted funding for specific job skills training under the Bubale Partnership. We propose budgetary supports toward vocational programs and degree programs which are offered by local universities in the areas where Fiji lacks the discipline and skill shortages. Mr. Speaker, sir, curriculum innovation and transformation from ECE to secondary school to senior secondary is one of the priority areas discussed with DFET. The Ministry is working to develop a concept of curriculum innovation and transformation. We are pleased to inform this August House that DFET has assured support for Fiji's curriculum review, which will be assisted in parallel with the Australian curriculum review. Mr. Speaker, sir, as curriculum review is enhanced, it is expected that teacher skills will need to be upgraded, and this was also discussed with DFET to set up a teacher upskilling platform on digital training assessments. The Ministry of Education, Mr. Speaker, sir, has started dialogue with other bilateral partners on assistance for online learning for both teachers and students, and DFET, along with the World Bank and ADB, and some other agencies. Mr. Speaker, sir, it must be celebrated that Fiji, on the education front, is expanding its scholarship on its own and through partnerships with the Australian universities, for example, the PhDs. The intentions whereby TSLS is the driving force, along with the Fiji Higher Education Commission and our stakeholder tertiary providers, we wish to inculcate a culture of research-driven policies that encapsulate innovations and entrepreneurship for development resolutions. And in doing so, the Ministry of Education is driving the establishment of a Fiji National Research Council, or a proxy to allow researchers to receive grants to conduct research on government policies and challenges. And a proxy can be a model to begin with, research grant-based at TSLS, and then full scoping to establish an entity on its own. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the visit by the TSLS delegation, we were able to secure the pro bono service of 2 distinguished professors who are from Fiji to help in the establishment of the Research Council. They are Professor Dharmen Sharma from the University of Canberra and Professor Satish Chan from University of New South Wales. We are very grateful to the gentlemen for their support towards the development of Fiji's research capabilities, and we will look forward for the support of our other esteemed sons and daughters of Fiji in the area of education research to join us in this noble development intention. On that note, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm also pleased to report that DFET has assured the assistance of the Australian Research Council to help in the setting up of the Fiji's National Research Council, which had been agreed by law to be set up in 2017 under the National Research Council Act of 2017, which, however, is yet to be implemented. Mr. Speaker, sir, to conclude, the investment that government is doing in quality education and in research degrees, Fiji will reap benefits in 3 to 4 years' time and beyond. And we need a strong and bold vision in education to ensure that we build an inclusive nation that empowers our citizens. With the coalition government's commitment to education, we will definitely make major inroads in our development intentions accordingly, Mr. Speaker, and we thank all stakeholders working with us to make these aspirations happen. Mr. Speaker, sir, just before I take my seat, may I also extend my sincere appreciation to His Excellency the High Commissioner to Australia, Mr. Ajay Amrit Bhai, his hardworking staff, and the amazing Fijian diaspora for the warm traditional welcome accorded to us as we visited Canberra. The usual Fijian hospitality and flair was on display, and I wish to say, Vinaka Walevu, na viva Tokitaki, na Loloma, na Vika Waitaki. We trust we are able to satisfy those queries, especially on the education sector sufficiently. Nasa wale.
Honorable Minister for Education.